about. Um, you don't have to name any specific examples or anything, but just in general,
Mhm.
like, how have you seen clients, private or professional, or like esports organizations, treat editors or mistreat them?
Turn this bad boy off here. So a lot of it has been not paying on time. But the majority of these issues come when an editor is working directly with a streamer and they either have just themselves, themselves being the streamer, managing the payments and everything YouTube on the YouTube side, and just only having their editor. Or sometimes they'll have like a manager. And a lot of these people unfortunately can tend to take advantage of people who, well, let's not put I won't say it like that, but I feel as if there are a lot of inexperienced editors who get into situations where they do not know or understand their worth, and therefore get taken advantage of for their time because they know no different. And I don't think there's a lot of malicious intent always when it comes to like a streamer or the people associated with the streamer, either not paying these people on time or whatever it is. But it's a level of like professionalism and taking it seriously that is lacking in some people, or in just some areas. And I think when you move into like organizations, when you start to like realize how these things should be handled. And even still in esports, there are a lot of orgs that do, maybe now they do, but in the past have not treated editors fairly or well. But things slowly are changing, like it's you don't really they don't get away with that as much anymore, at least from my experience, only from what I've seen. It's really hard to speak on that in general because I obviously don't. I've kind of removed myself a bit from the editing community, and just like not really keeping up. In just a sense, I don't really keep up as much with like what people are doing right now. But yeah, man, I think most of it just comes down to like not paying people, or just paying super late. Not that's the worst one, and it's always that, it seems. And
something to remember when you're dealing with streamers too is a lot of them started just like editors do. They start out, they don't make any money. They put all their time into it. They do everything for ridiculously low return. And they get into that mindset of, I want to make content and I put in so much effort into this. And then they get somewhat successful and they need to hire an editor for their thing. And they're like, man, I used to do this I spent like an hour on this every day and I could do it. My time is worth nothing. Why should I pay this editor this money? So that's the mindset. And a lot of them are kids, like emotionally and on an experience level, people are from 18 to 25 don't have that knowledge coming in, and they don't really understand to respect. They don't have the empathy to respect other people's time and money.
Yeah, it's that level of understanding. And thankfully, over time, that's kind of, people have been learning. And it's, there were a few years where it was very rough, I think, just in general for editors. Like I think there was a period of like time where the majority of editors felt like they weren't getting what they deserved, or they weren't being treated fairly in the jobs they were at. That still happens a lot, sadly, but as time has went on, I think more people are being held accountable because people don't really let that slide anymore as much, but also just they're learning, people are learning how to deal with managing and paying people. Like if you're a streamer and all you've ever done is play games and stream it, you don't know how to run a business. You don't know how to like manage a payroll. If you have multiple editors, get a manager. Like get a manager, please.
Get someone who can do both.
Yes. I mean, like people, and people have been doing that recently, which is great because, having a streamer try and handle everything can unfortunately lead to just so much confusion and like just worrying for an editor that is really not necessary um, for anyone involved. But yeah, it's hard to speak, specifically the issue. Mostly, it's always been like people not paying or paying on time.
Yeah.
That has been just consistent through the years, and probably always will, as there's always people who are just kind of shitty. But I think they also editors talk to each other. People know who not to deal with when that happens. So you got to consider that as well. Like,
yeah. And
people
if you
know,
get into a situation where you're approaching or you're being approached by a content creator and they're trying to give you a some sort of like BS about, hey, why don't you make a few videos for me and we'll see how it works out, and if it does well, then you maybe
yeah,
can get this low base fee with like a percentage on top or something like that. It's
just
sometimes they mean well, but 9 times out of 10 that's
yeah.
not going to be a good situation for you to be in.
Mm-hmm.
If they can't afford
And
to pay you your rate for like 1 or 2 videos just to try it out,
yeah,
one, they're not a
absolutely.
very
Like
successful streamer, or two, they're very greedy and
yes,
they don't want to give you money.
yeah, trial videos I don't like at all, because as an editor, your skill set can be viewed truly just by the content you've made. You do not need to make a test video for somebody. If they want to do that, they should be paying you for your time. I really, really hate the concept of doing trials for a channel and doing unpaid work. And I know people who do that absolutely always mean well for the most part, but because they truly are just trying to find the perfect fit, right? But that effort should not come from the editor. It should come from the person who is trying to find the perfect fit.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't take the time to go through an editor's portfolio and look at what they've displayed to you as their best work, and you can't make a judgment based off of that, then if you want to go into the next step, you have to pay them for their time. Like the if you really want someone to give your content a shot, they should always be paid for their time. It's just kind of the bottom line.
Yeah.
Um,
And that
and
really underlines the importance of making yourself a portfolio that somebody can
yes,
quickly and easily go through and see if they like you. Because if they try to pull, if you have a portfolio that you think is a very good and accurate representation of the work that you're capable of doing regularly, then
yeah,
there's no reason that they should be able to go through and say like, hey, do you want to make a video for us for no money? If they want to pay you, sure, there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with
yeah.
that. But if for there's no reason they should say, hey, do you want to make a video for us for no money and see if you really like
Just
it?
to
And
see how it works.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
like
worse if they put that video up on their channel. If it's like
oh,
if
absolutely.
they just take your video and just like, I don't like it, I'm like, okay, whatever, it's a shitty thing to do, but whatever. But if they put
Yeah,
it up on their channel and they're like, oh, maybe we don't want to move forward because of your price or your content style, that's just they're stealing from you basically at that
they
point.
really truly are. And it's unfortunate that I've done videos for exposure before. Like it's stuff that I think every probably established editor has done. And I know so many people who have meant well and truly just like either couldn't afford to have an editor and just really wanted to try making content with somebody. And I don't think there's any harm in that, but I think as an editor, if you are trying to make money and you feel like you're being taken advantage of, just don't do that stuff, please. Like don't do trial videos for free. That's one advice I'll give for sure, is never do a trial video for free. I don't like the concept of trial videos in general, but if they're going to do it, if they're going to make you do it, make them pay you. And if they won't, then truly, I think they are going to try and they won't be the best to deal with moving forward, most likely.
Yeah.
Is my opinion. But who knows? It's hard to make a blanket say. I'm not one to make blanket statements, you can tell, but still, I really just I hate that shit.
Think
So
of it
much.
this way: if you're coming in and you don't want to do a trial video, but you do it anyway, and it doesn't work out, not only have you reinforced the idea in that streamer's mind that they can do this to other people,
Yeah.
you're contributing. And this is, I hate this because I hate the idea of like one person refusing to do something is like contributing to a culture of this.
Yeah.
But you're literally contributing to the culture of like exploiting these people, these workers.
Absolutely.
And you see this in art a lot, where
Oh yeah.
I don't like this and I hate this argument, but I see some people who, and I'm not an artist, so obviously I'm an outsider's perspective, but I see people who get legitimately upset at smaller creators for like pricing their commissions out really cheaply. Like they'll say, "Oh, I'll make you a thumbnail or something for $5," and like I see where they're coming from, because they're devaluing the whole industry for everyone. Because like, oh, you can get a thumbnail for $5. If I can pay this 100 follower person on Twitter $5, why shouldn't I be able to pay you that? But also, like, I don't know. It's hard to get into
the thing
that.
is, nobody, people will always, there's always going to be someone who's, doing something for cheaper, or, can undercut your price in some way. But at the same time, as long as you are confident in the work you're making, and a client, your value as an editor comes from what you make and the way you communicate to your client. That's also 50% of it is communication. And being able to communicate and work professionally is huge. But your value as an editor, what was I literally about to say? I'm so sorry. I'm so tired and I just lost my train of thought. I want to talk about this communication thing because it just came into my mind, because it's something else I want to talk about. Yeah, communicating as an editor. Easily the most important skill that you could learn is being able to conduct yourself professionally, message people professionally, take feedback and any suggestions in stride, and being able to always, speak to people in a positive manner. It's very easy to get frustrated as an editor in your job, but never let that affect the people you work with. Because the only way you really get hired as an editor is, one, through showing your work, or two, like word of mouth. Word of mouth is what has gotten me every single job that I have. It's more so being easy to work with than it is to just being the best editor in general. As long as you listen and you communicate, and if you can't do something, you are honest about that, and you explain that up front, or like anything, like there's no need to try and take on more than you think you can handle, or whatever it is, because I've pushed myself a lot and I've taken on things that I can't handle and just barely gotten by, and I've also been pretty miserable doing it. So like it can work, but it can also it really works against you. And also, like, I'm going on so many tangents right now, but
that's
just learn
literally
to communicate.
every podcast we have is just like, it's tangents to the show. Feel free to talk about whatever you want to.
I just think about a random thing as I'm talking about it. But yeah, like communicating is, I've found to be the skill set that I actually had to hone the most past my editing. Like, I've always been confident in my editing. I know what I'm capable of, but I've not always been confident in the way that I conduct myself professionally. And that's something that I had to really learn, because one, you want to be able to stick up for yourself. You want to be able to feel like your word is taken seriously. If you do your job well and you communicate in a good way with your clients, like, they will take your opinion seriously. They will value it. Like, I'm more than just an editor to the people that I work with, and they value my opinions, and that's because I offer them in constructive ways, and at least I like to think that. I really hope they do. It really feels like they do, obviously, but like it's just learn to be professional.
Yeah. And when you're starting out, stick up for yourself, because it's going to be hard to find somebody else who will do that for you.
Yep. I was very fortunate in that I had mentors pretty much going through. Like, one of the most important people in my life is Hitstreak. I think you know Hitstreak. Like, Jesse, he was the guy he was my main contact when I did my first jobs with Riot, and he just kind of he could tell, I think, that I had no idea what I was doing, but he took it upon himself, one, to not only like introduce me to people within the industry, but also to just like give me advice and kind of, you know, let me know where I stood because I didn't understand it myself. And having someone like that in your life is very valuable, but I realize not everyone's going to have that. I was very fortunate in that regard. So hopefully, in being able to say that, hey, like, you know, these things I've gone through them. I've dealt with this shit before. I really think like just learning to be a good communicator is the most important thing you can do if you are looking to improve your skill set as an editor. Because I realize we're also mostly young. A lot of us are below 20, like less younger than usually even just 20, but like I'm 23. I've been editing for 6 years. And I would say only in the past 3 years have I felt like a professional, you know? Have I felt like this has been my career more so than just like a job that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I think a
it's
lot of
about your,
people will struggle to get even that far with their
yeah.
mentality towards themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it's a lot of just like training yourself mentally. You know, you really have to. I guess that goes probably for any job. This is the only job I've ever had. Like literally out of high school, I just edited videos, and it's a little intimidating to think that I don't really have much of another skill set. But at the same time, I'm very happy with like the way things have gone for me. And me personally, I don't know exactly what it is that I want to do in the future, but I know it's always going to be creating content in some way. And I feel like as long as I'm keeping myself in this space and doing the best I can do, I feel like those opportunities